This is 4th of September 2020. I had a fair bit of feedback from the last video that it was too quiet, so I am going to try and project my voice a bit more. I'm sitting in a room with better acoustics, a bit closer to my tablet. Hope this works a little bit better. Okay, this video is I call it Normal People Are Weird. I'm not sure if these are sort of holistic traits that my little naughty brain finds hard to cope with, or whether they are just pet hates of mine. But anyway, they're things that are very, very common, but I just cannot begin to understand. First one is what's the thing with not finishing drinks? When someone has a glass of water and leaves half of it, why do they do that? Why not just put a bit less water in the glass if you're not thirsty enough to finish it all? Even people who've bought a drink specifically, if you go into a pub and a group of people have left a table and gone home, they leave, quite a few of them will have left, at least a good couple of mouthfuls in each glass. What? Paid for that, you've paid a couple of quid for, a pint of beer and left some of it. Well, why did you do that? Were you in such a hurry to get home you couldn't even finish one more mouthful of the beer that you have paid for? And when I go to work, I go in the staff room and people have left. So I started making a cup of tea and left a cup of tea on the worktop and in the staff room, and it's just gone cold. I think, if you weren't going to have time to drink your cup of tea, why did you start making one? Why don't you just have a glass of water if you're so thirsty, What's that for? And staying on the subject of beverages, what's the thing with filling a kettle right up to the top every time? Why do they fill the kettle right up to the top? Why would anybody do that? I mean, someone told me once it saves time because you don't have to fill it up again next time you use the kettle. But of course, say your kettle contains 7 cups of water when full, but you're only making 1 cup of tea. You're heating 6 times as much water as you really need, so it's going to take 6 times as long. You're not saving time at all. You're actually wasting time. And they don't just let the kettle get lower and lower, do they? They fill it up right to the top again next time. So every time they use the kettle, they're waiting 6 times as long as they should be, and they're using 6 times as much electricity. I mean, most kettles contain about 8 or 9 cups worth of water anyway, so it's quite a lot that they're using up. I mean, even if you did fill the kettle right up and then let the water level drop, you're using 6 times as much as you need the first time, and then 5 times as much, and then 4 times as much. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And even if you're not bothered about, wasting electricity, 1 kettle, it's very small in the great scheme of things. You're paying for it. You're waiting for it. What are you doing? I don't understand why anyone would think that is a good idea. Just put one cup's worth of water in FFS, or 2 cups worth if you've got a friend there with you. Can't you tell how much water you need in a kettle? I mean, you could just measure it. Fill your cup up and pour it into the kettle, and then see where the water level is, and for next time. Weird. Third one, getting a bit heavier now. Patriotism. What's that? George Bernard Shaw described it as the belief that your country is the best because you happen to be born there. Yeah, that's very strange thing when you think about it, isn't it? I think these sort of hit the nail on the head there. As Bertrand Russell described it as the willingness to be killed and to kill for trivial reasons, which it does become in a time of war, of course. I mean, I'm sure most people who describe them patriotic describe themselves as a patriot, walking down the street. They're not particularly thinking of killing anybody, but yeah, when it comes to wartime, you will have those feelings of, the love of your country used against you. And I find as well there's a big link with racism. Not necessarily that every patriot is racist, but certainly every racist is a patriot. They use it as an excuse, don't they? They just sort of take it as read that, people from other countries are somehow lesser, they're a bit backward, a bit degenerate, whatever that particularly means to the individual racist. Sorry, I'm getting a bit heavy now, aren't it? It started off like a sort of room 101 type thing, and now we're discussing racism. I'll leave it there for the racism. I think that's a bit beyond the scope of this video. I might address it in another video actually. But yeah, patriotism. What is it? What even is a country? What are you proud of? I'll tell you how the first country began. Okay, somewhere way back in perhaps Paleolithic times, Ugg the caveman said to the other cave people, "You stay away from my family." And that's how the first country was born. And due to a series of historical accidents, we have all these sort of arbitrary lines all over the world that you cannot cross without the correct paperwork, and sort of fall under the jurisdiction of one particular government. And that's what a country is. It's not about language or religion or anything really. It's just some little quirk of international law that happens to make life difficult for anybody who wants to have a holiday, unless it's reasonably close to home. Suppose if you lived in Russia, you don't have to stay close to home, or China or Canada, very big country like that. But I suppose if you lived in, say, a very small country, like Rwanda or Lebanon, you'd sort of really struggle. Culture's not confined to one particular country, is it? It's, what is culture? I mean, the difference between a city and a countryside in England is, culturally as different as anywhere else in Northern Europe. I don't even really know what people mean by culture when they talk about a national culture. And even in the UK, which is a relatively small country, you go to Wales, you find people who, whose bloodline has been in the British Isles for 1,000 years, and they speak a completely different language. They have a different understanding of history. You go to Scotland, there's another language altogether there. I mean, it's not all Scottish people speak Scots Gaelic, but there are schools and workplaces where it's first language. Yes, patriotism. Absolutely incomprehensible. Number 3, fashion. Yeah, okay. You go into the shop, you see something that's very new and different, you think, "Ooh, I like that," and you buy it. Yeah, fair enough. But then, what's the thing with buying things you don't like because they're in fashion? And then 10 years later, you look back and you go, "Oh my God, what was I wearing that for? I looked absolutely ridiculous." We all looked absolutely ridiculous in those weird outfits. Oh God, we were crazy. What? Would you imagine we used to think we looked really good, didn't we? Ha 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 ha. Again, I think it's more than anything, it's a way of just extracting money out of people. It's a ka-ching thing. It's a sort of conditioning that you must the latest trends, whether you like them or not. People who do not are somehow less than you. I remember at school I used to, get a lot of people taking the piss out of me because my trainers weren't Nike and my shoes weren't sort of high heels. I didn't have makeup on, that sort of thing. I said, well, who cares? Why are you even looking at what I'm wearing? Is anyone remotely interested? Is your life that sort of small and empty that you have to look at some sort of semi-stranger's outfit to get this some semblance of humour? People pay a lot of money for it, don't they? They'll. I know people will just clear out their wardrobe every year, and they chuck it. They don't give it to charity or whatever. They say, "Oh, nobody will like this," and chuck it. Why? It's still perfectly wearable. Maybe if it is so of its era that you can't possibly wear it in the next year, you could keep it and maybe in 10 years sell it on eBay as a retro piece. I don't know. Anyway, fashion. Really, really honest. It's not just clothes, is it? It's interior design. It's cars. Yeah, it's I really struggle with the whole concept. Self-esteem. Self-esteem. Why do people have self-image issues? I mean, now there's a theory that they read magazines and see models and want to compare themselves to the models. It just seems a bit simplistic, really, doesn't it? I mean, why do people look in the mirror and see a spot and think, oh, I need to put some concealer and I can't possibly let anybody know that I am a living, breathing human who occasionally has a blocked pore that nobody else would even notice because it is like 2 millimetres across. And the whole thinking they're ugly business, what's that all about? People just walking around thinking that they're disgustingly ugly, and I don't get it, you know? Most people look fairly average. I mean, yes, some people are ugly, but, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, someone somewhere will probably find them striking. Doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't mean that you won't live a happy, fulfilling life. It's purely cosmetic. I mean, I kind of sympathise with people who have self-image issues. I'm sure they sort of have some reason to think that. I just feel like I don't understand where they're coming from. I don't understand why they find it important or why they dwell on it to the point that it sort of sends them into that they send. People spend thousands on cosmetic surgery, just to make themselves look some vision of it attractiveness, and that is quite worrying, really. And it's a worldwide phenomenon that's always existed throughout history. People wanting to be beautiful, whatever that means in their particular society, and it's not useful or healthy for anybody. only, beauty product sellers. Being scared of spiders. Why are so many people, so absolutely terrified of spiders? Like, a big one is half an inch across. I mean, fair enough if you live in a country that has, tarantulas and black widows or whatever. But certainly across Europe, there is absolutely nothing remotely intimidating about a spider. And people just treat them like they're rabid Rottweilers or something. Oh my god, it's a spider! No. Stop it. You're ridiculous. It doesn't have a sting. If it walked on you, you probably wouldn't even notice. What is wrong? Why are you afraid of a spider? I mean, obviously I understand people who have individual phobias, but this isn't an individual phobia. This is like 90% of the population are absolutely terrified of a minuscule creature that doesn't cause any harm at all. It's a bit annoying having to dust when there's spider webs around the place, but that's about as far as a dislike of spiders really ought to go. I did once hear a theory that, back in way back in history, when people were sort of colonising the world, they were travelling around and found some spiders were poisonous, so they told their children, "Oh, don't touch the spiders. Some we don't know what they all are. Some are dangerous," and gradually, it just became a sort of inborn thing. As soon as you're born, you are taught, "Do not touch the spiders." And it's just been passed down for thousands of years. But I mean, everything could be dangerous, People aren't afraid of rivers. A river can be very dangerous, People aren't afraid of, a bird. A bird might peck you to death, People aren't afraid of the sea, People tell the kids don't go near the sea, but we all grow out of that when we realise that the sea isn't actually that dangerous. You can just go and paddle in it, it's lovely. I mean, people are regularly killed in car crashes. No one's afraid of driving a car, even though anyone who is capable of driving a car has spent, at least a good few months learning how to do it in a safe and legal manner. And we are not afraid of cars. Some people find them very interesting. I find them quite interesting. And I've been going on for nearly 20 minutes now, so I'm going to wind it up for today. Anyone got any comment, any answers for me? Please pop them in the comments. Anything you would like to add, put them in the comments. Something you would like me to cover in a future video, let me know. Thanks. See you later, people.